not for the nation. Well, I don't believe that this is democracy if we're going to practice it this way. We have to be fair with our people and to our people. And therefore, I'm asking again for this petition to be extended. For the youth, that is 74.9% of this nation. How can we deprive them out? How can we deprive them from their rights? Secondly, I think this is an opportunity to educate the youth and their democratic rights. The ones who are turning 18 this year, including my own son who turns 18 in June, unfortunately, he has to wait for another 4 years before he gets the opportunity to be a part of democracy. And that is the fundamental basis of governance in this country. Thirdly, which I just don't understand, in 2016, they needed 26,000 polling centers to do this registration. In 2020, they had to increase from 26,000 to 33,000 polling centers before they can practice the registration of democratic rights. Unfortunately, in 2024, we don't have 33,000 stations, or polling stations, for people to register. Instead, we have 258 offices by the EC that has 3 to 4 different constituencies within there, making it 1,068 spaces, which is 3% of the 33,000 polling votes, polling stations that helped us to do the registration in the past 4 years. My question is, how is this going to be possible? By using just 1,068 spaces, commanding the entire nation, people to come from different types of regions, people to travel 20, 50 kilometers just so they can have a registration. I'm asking this nation to reconsider, this government to also reconsider how we're being governed as a nation. Give us the rights, give us the chance so we can practice democracy the way it's supposed to be practiced. And I'm saying this boldly, that politicians will come and go. Their lifetime is 4 to 8 years. But the government is the body of this country. It's the fundamental basis of how we as a nation should be governed. And therefore, we cannot govern this nation based on a politician's interest. I'm asking politely that as a country, as a nation, we should all come together and go forward with this petition, making sure that the EC grants us the extension. And I think as a nation, we have the right to do so. I believe that Ghana is the hope of Africa. We were the first to gain our independence. We are respected and we are looked up to by a lot of African countries. And we should not lose our constitutional democratic reputation. This could dent our image. This can deprive us from the rights of many things that we do. I'm urging the nation today to come together and asking for the people to be empowered, and they must exercise their constitutional and their democratic rights. May the power of this universe that helps us to govern our destiny lead us through this moment and these situations, and one understanding for us to build one nation, one people, and one country. Thank you. Questions? I can take questions from here. Please. Go ahead. Yes, please.
My name is Cheddar Brown for TV3. Before you began, you spoke about marching to the offices by tomorrow, 12 p.m. If the petition isn't given or addressed by the EC. If you could tell us more about that, because you didn't really address that.
But that's why it was off the record, because we believe that, you know, we should not portray any sort of protesting practices. This is we asking as a nation, since we know we stand as a force, as a nation, we have the right to command the government institutions to do what we think is fair for us. But if every young person in this country, or every woman who wants the best for their children, decides to practice the right of protesting, then that is a nation asking. But I don't expect it to get there. I just think that the government, as electoral commission, as part of the embodiment of the government, electoral commission, will consider this petition. And of course, the people of this nation, you have different institutions. The Christian Council, the Peaceful Council, many institutions. We have written to them, including the Parliament. More than 20 or 30 different institutions in this country at this point is sharing this petition. And we all need to be able to do what is right for the nation. So I think really that's my answer to your question. It's not what we're interested in to practice, and we don't want to portray any sort of violence. We peacefully, politely ask as a nation that give us our fair share in terms of equal rights. And it's true, we have the right to vote, and nobody should restrict us or deprive us from that right. Not a child, not an adult who has become 18 years old, not a mother, and not an unemployed person or employed person. We all should have equal rights as a nation. Thank you. Please.
Thank you, sir. For the sake of cameras, I will walk to sit down so that, thank you. My name is Mensah for company FM. My question is, you did so much analysis on the numbers as compared to the offices available for this practice. So I want to ask, how many days would you, in your petition, did you state that if it would add to the number of days already, would help us get the numbers as you're saying, so that in our report you can state that if we have, let's say, a week or two in addition, we'll be able to cover the expectation.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. I think the days is based on how many offices or polling stations that are open. Now, if you try to use 258 offices with 3 different tables as constituency tables that is sitting there, that some of it might work, some of them might not work. Some places will have lights off. Hey, you're going to need years to do this. So why don't we just go back and give the people the chance? The polling stations are not closed. That's where we're going to vote. Why not open it? Why not do the right thing? The point I'm trying to make is that it's someone else's interest that is determining our future right now. Because maybe somebody wants it that way. But I don't think the government should be tricked or should be forced into doing that. We cannot stand up or believe that our judges, the judiciary system, the legislation of this country, the executive arm of this country should be influenced by politicians. And if I'm one or a leader, I don't think I should do that either. I think it's illegal. The government is supposed to be for the nation. The nation, the people made the government, and therefore they have to stand by them. They have to be responsible for them, for their rights. So I don't think that if they even grant us a month more as an extension, and they're still squeezing us in 1,068 slots, we're still going to find it easy. This year, I want you to know that there are more than 5 to 6 million people who are willing to vote. Besides, I would like everybody to know this. That do you know that every registration, voters registration that was done before 2020 has been cancelled? Why are they not teaching and telling, educating us, reminding us that we have to quickly get a new registration card if we don't have anything starting from the 2020? If you go there with your 2016 registration card, you will not be on the list. This is something that the nation should be aware of as we're speaking now. It should be highlighted in schools, on platforms. Why don't we know this? What is going on in the country? My question is why? Why all of a sudden we only need 253 officers for 33 million people to practice their voters registration rights? And this question I'm not just asking the nation, I want you to also ask yourself that if it's fair and if it's right. So for those who don't know, that if you have any card that is 2018, 2016, 2012, 2008, you can't use it. And if everybody is going to renew that card, we're going to have millions of people going to renew that card. This is going to be chaotic. How are they going to do it? It's obvious to me that whatever 10s or 11 million or 12 million that was registered in 2020 seems to be the only important voters today for either EC or for politicians. And I'm asking that they should let other people in because they want to practice it too. Thank you. All right, so I think this will be the last question because we have to try and get it on the 12 o'clock news and 6 o'clock news.
My name is Abdul Razak. I represent the Herald. Before asking my question, Larudugu was invited.
Yes.
But for a very good reason, he was not able to make it. That's why he asked me to come. So let's put that on record.
Thank you.
My question is, have you engaged the EC before the petition? That's the first question. The second question is, are you part of IPAC? The third one is not a question, but I wanted to...
You have to ask two because it looks like you want an essay.
I just wanted to
go on here. Okay, but I want to answer your questions.
Okay.
So if you have questions for me,
okay.
One is fine, but if you want to make it two, it's fine.
So I asked two questions. So
okay. So I'm not part of IPAC. And I have contacted the EC by sending a petition to them. That's the best I can do. I feel like once they have this petition, they should act on it. And I also think Herald, as a newspaper, should act as soon as possible on it. Because this is not for our personal interest. This is for the sake of the nation that is being deprived from their rights. And if our children, or the ones who are coming, are going to go through these practices, that they tell them when they can make them vote and when they cannot, and who will be responsible to transport them based on who they want to vote for. I'm sorry, we're practicing dictatorship. We're dictating to our people. Since we're a country of democracy, let's practice democracy in the right way. Now, I don't have to be a member of many institutions to have the right to address this issue the way I'm addressing it. Neither do I have to be a politician or a leader of this country to be saying what I'm saying. But as a citizen, I have my equal rights to address anything that is supposed to protect my democratic rights for voting. And I have to do the same for the nation. But I want Ghana to understand that I am faithful and I am determined to do what is right, not only for myself, but for the country I belong to and for the soil I came from. For that reason, I stand here today on behalf of the nation that we should be granted the equal right to have the democratic right to vote. Thank you all, and thank you very much. All right, so I'd like to say thank you once again. You want to ask a question? Last question. Do I have to go back there, or I can answer it from there?
Yes.
Okay.
Please, I want to say something because of the cameras.
Yes.
A friend is saying, "Na, you're hot of you're working in a portfolio in Kapa. We are here, and they all come so young, some there are people are also going to register 18 on my bro. Any idea? They are going through stress. They are okay now. We are Ghana. Which are watching. Na study one real brofia okay. Obi so work grabia sia ya okay one tiasia no. Obi na wo se wo gina ntintia ma no. Na de wo ka no so no wo kwa ma no. Na mfe wo medi force ye.
That's it, sister. She say the Ghana and your brofo and our politicians and our leaders back up. See a country, as I say a car was as I say a car casa bebre. Nemo Yawakaniti, Government tree. So let me summarize everything since it's the most common dialect. You say a mind more your words to say no. Say back on anymore. So about the chill, United now minus one. That's will be your baby. That's the one him say ending wow. That's a what now. Now we just told Moswa. And you're one away your home abroad. And you Tina, and then we see petition. The petition, no, tree. Refuse to say back a petition. This is our we have a question, but Madam petition, huh? Alistradia, Mumma Samuel Papa. And see, Alistradia, but the other 2 days, extra say 20 days now, Electoral Commission, and the amount of mine. Say, Obia from voting and for yet registration for voting rights. 20 days, you know, now they compare 33,000 slots a year before as polling centers. And no prano, you have bread. Then, 20 days, you know, the amount only 253 offices are almost 3 to 4 constituencies in there. In Tidinano, I would say 1,068. Now, 1,068, you know, say Nipa Bako register. Now, say time, you know, 15 minutes, no, they will register. I will be Nipa 4, and I'll wait to my register. 2 times 4, no, by 1,000 something. That is 4 in an hour. Now, we have times by 8. So, we are now started times 20 in 273,000 votes. And it's a nipa kasa omo kwa register so omo be vote here. Eno pe time omo wono, eno pe nipa saa no pe no omo betimi a register omo. Yes we 33 million. And no na media be to just say, amansa nyina no yemfa yensa ene ya dwene go. Na yem bi say easy so say. Emre ya omo de ama ye esua, enti omo extended no first of all. Secondly no, yem bi so omo say so, every 33,000 polling centers now, your registration is free. No, we have 253 executive or EC offices. Only 2 to 3 and that's 4 constituencies as alcohol. No, we are registered or mining in our and as I said, free a trade from the polling center. no they used to register from no. As I say, no almost sign about EC office. BB for transportation would be lower. A quantity and an impact 33 million, you wait to me. I had a boko. They use 253 or more offices on war Kruma. And I have to show Munina every regions in district or war. I'm a Munina or 253 where I already 40 who says you say a constituency as I register. So, share numbers no and match. Ocean swap. And Tiasiabi and Yajuma. And Niti and the new force. And myself, the founder, and I come in Bidiako. My sorry, any dom, any a dom of woman will say, ye be sir, and then ye be sir, now ye walk right, you know. Say, yes, you be sir. Say, more extended now, and ye. Time now, Mudiama and so. And as spaces in so I must say, yan register one so, and so, and tea. They are two of mine, and they are two of buying, they are too easy, just remember. On my map. Won't show you Mississippi. I'm on your mind. I am proud. Yen Mabu, Yamamino, yet not form any on mining in a Nipa womb, and so etting I practice democracy. Oh, pious over years. Madame Massive. That's it. Last one, okay.
I want further clarification. When he asked about, but I'm audible, right?
Yeah.
Yes. Yes. So I want further clarification on what the Happy FM guy asked. It appears you did not answer, or perhaps you answered and I did not hear. He's asking for specifics. When do you think? How many days do you think should be added so that everybody will be okay?
Okay, so I answered it and I'm going to repeat the answer so you get the clarification right.
Okay.
I am not here to ask for a month, 2 or 3, but I have stated that the people that we are emulating with democratic rights, they do open for a whole year for people to get the chance, the time to be able to register. They don't restrict us. So that's the first one. The second thing is that if the polling centers used to be 33,000 for 33 million people to have the chance to go and register, and now it's 253 with 3 tables in there, making it a total of 1,068. Then how are we going to determine the exact days today? So if you give me 1 month, we can work with it, or 2 months. I think that what I've said, it would take EC, the nation, to be reasonable. It's either they bring back these polling centers, so it will be easier for us to walk into these polling centers and register like we've always practiced. Today, the nation is changing by changing the principles, the political principles that determine the governance of this nation is being changed. That is the point, and that is the reason why we're asking for the extension. So EC knows the calculation that I'm talking about. The average Ghanaian can also see that if we only have 1,000 slots, and we used to have 33,000, and we needed more than 20 days to do the registration, then where is this huge gap coming from? So as much as I'm asking the nation to stand by me and to come with me for us to make sure that this petition is granted, I also expect the government to put in the right numbers. So if it's 4 months, if it's 5 months, it's not illegal. It's not going to destroy anything. It's not going to stop the politics. It's not going to stop the election. It's in fact going to give people the right to vote. And we need voters to consolidate people's ideas, wishes, and wants as a nation to be able to have a successful election. Thank you. You want to ask me another question?
Final.
All right.
Final question. So
I want to just give a few statistics. The target of the EC was first-time voters, not the entire population. And per their target...
Sorry, the target of the
EC. They said they were registering first-time voters,
Uh-huh.
right? And their target produced, they are targeting 623,000 new voters. That was the target they presented that they want to register. Now, per the numbers they've brought out, they've registered about 459,291, which would mean a percentage of about 74% has already been registered at this time. We have a few days more to register the remaining amount of people, the remaining percentage. I'd like to ask, is your call for an extension only based on the numbers of people being registered, or it's actually based on the challenges being faced? For instance, probably in the north, there are people who would have to travel for long distances just to get to a particular polling center. It's not even a police center, a particular EC office just to get registered. Because at this point, if you want to base it on 33 million people, it might be a bit of an exaggeration because their target was 600,000.
I'm not basing it on 33 million people.
So
I think that is the size of our population. So it's only right to let the people remember that this nation is 33 million people. But to answer your question, which I think you've answered already, because you sound more like a professional worker from Electoral Commission than a TV station. When you have these numbers and knowing the exact amount that has been registered to this point, it means that you are following it much better than me. You're asking me a question, but you're answering it at the same time by telling me that it's only for 620,000 people, meaning that the EC have already checked the amount of people that needs to be registered, and you have also checked that from a TV station. Surprisingly, I am quite surprised, the question that you asked me, to have all these statistics, knowing that they have survived to do 70%, so it's left with 20%, and it's possible it can be done in 7 days. You've done very well from someone that works for a TV station to know this much. I think, no, but you're literally saying that they have done 400 and something thousand, meaning that you are very sure of what the EC is doing. And you are also standing for the fact that they're saying 620,000 people are entitled to register. When we look into the records, if you have 74.9% at 0 to 45 years of this nation, that means 2/3 of this nation are the youth. And if you boxed it in 20 gates, it means if there are 1 million people that will turn 18 in June, you have deprived them from their rights. These are the things that we're talking about. We're talking about people being deprived from their rights, for the democratic rights. We're not talking about how intelligent the EC is to be able to convince us that 253 or 258 executive offices can have 4 tables and they would just hold these new voters because they're 620,000. No. Besides that, I also made it very clear that if you look at this entire nation, if we only have 2020 registration votes to be the only existing voters registration to be able to have the right to vote, that means we are going to, or we have to re-register almost 30 to 40% of this nation again, because they are not aware of it and they are not being educated about it. How come it's not on TV? You work on TV, you work with TV3. I have never seen the advert. I'm not seeing it on social media, creating the awareness that if you don't register again, you will not have the right to vote. But you think about the 33 million people, by the end of this year, if they walk into polling centers and they keep turning them back and say, you don't have the right to vote, you don't have the right to vote, you don't have the right to vote, you don't have... Can you imagine what can happen to all of us? Let's not be ignorant about human rights. That is very important. To build a nation, you first of all need to educate them about their own rights so they know where they're going. You just don't come and slap some kind of rule and conditions on them and make it very difficult for them to understand where they're going or their rights. If Ghana wants to practice democracy, they should do so. But there shouldn't be dictatorship, or they shouldn't be dictating and rules and orders from up above. A politician, like I said, is a politician. He can only rule for 4 years or 8 years, and he has to go, and another one has to come. Therefore, we as a nation should not sit there for them to come and change our judiciary system that protects us. Our executive body of this nation should not be controlled or undermined by a politician. It should be controlled by the rules and the constitution of the government. And that is what is right. And in fact, I think the media is doing a good job, but at the same time, I think they're becoming more politicians in a way because they know more about what is going on in this country politically. And they can't address it. We have to address it as a nation. But he who just stands and look at their child die when they can save them is a man or a woman that will live as a coward for the rest of their life. And Obata in Union Baby, Untimi Dina Sheno, so what the Bibia Maneti, Samson American has said, when we look at people who are more rights to vote, I stop here. We depriving their future. We're taking away their future from them. We're robbing them. We're convincing them the wrong way. On this note, I have been able to address some of the things that I didn't address in my first speech. I really think that